Welcome to part one of a four-part series looking back 110 years ago this week to the Easter Sunday tornado outbreak of 1913, one of the largest tornado outbreaks on record in the history of Nebraska and Iowa. Today we're going to establish some of the foundations for how this tornado outbreak occurred in the area. We'll look into it more in details, but first you need to understand the severe weather checklist here. These are the four things that we need for severe weather to get going in any part of the country. You need moisture and instability, you need wind shear, and you need a lifting mechanism for these. And we'll see if all four of those were in place on Easter Sunday in 1913. First, the warm air, and we had it. Temperatures that day getting up into the 60s and even some 70s in places like Lincoln. And off to the south, unusually warm air for late March. Our March average is in the low 50s, running 10 to 20 degrees above that. But with the warmth also came the moisture with it. Dew point temperatures, the measure of humidity in the air, getting up into the 50s during the afternoon hours on March the 23rd, which is well above where we typically see for this time of the year, meaning severe weather is absolutely conducive with the moisture. Also had the right amount of instability, which is the ability for air to rise quickly in the atmosphere. We had plenty of it that day, meaning the air was able to rise quickly and form into thunderstorms. The next ingredient is the wind shear. Reports from that day reported winds out of the southeast around 20 to 40 miles an hour at the surface. But as you head up in the atmosphere several miles, the winds were out of the northeast, sometimes going over 100 miles an hour. This is the perfect conditions for the wind shear to develop across the area. You have your winds going out of the southeast at the surface, and as they go up, they turn to the northeast. That turning motion eventually creates rotating thunderstorms and eventually creates tornadoes. We had ample amounts of it on March the 23rd. Now, the last thing you need is a sort of lifting mechanism, something to get the air to rise up. The most common lifting mechanism, fronts. And we had a very strong cold front move through during the afternoon hours on March the 23rd. And it was a combination of all of those ingredients right on top of eastern Nebraska into western Iowa that was conducive for the largest tornado outbreak the region has seen, with multiple violent tornadoes arcing through the area. Now remember, this is only part one. Part two through part four, we'll look in detail at each of these tornadoes as they tore paths of destruction across eastern Nebraska and western Iowa. You can scroll down below in the blog post to find the links to those parts and read more about 1913 in Nebraska and Iowa. That's all just below.